Welcome back everyone to my financial climb, where I'm documenting my financial progress and journey, as well as talking about things related to personal finance and investing. Now, while it's an absolutely gorgeous day out today, we're going to be talking about something that's not as gorgeous, which would be money mistakes that you make in your 20s. Now, I'm going to be talking about my own personal ones that I've made, so I have experience in this type of thing, things to avoid, things to do instead. So we're going to get into that today with this video. Now, while this is maybe an embarrassing discussion to even have or talk about, I'm being completely transparent with you guys. I'm giving everything that I have to you guys and being completely open to let you guys to learn from my mistakes, my triumphs, and how I'm making my journey to multi-million dollars. So if that's anything that interests you all or you're interested in following along with, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Also like this video for more videos like this in the future, and I really appreciate it. So let's not wait any further. Let's go ahead and get into it. The number one thing that is really obvious, I think, is to start earlier. I did not start as early as I wish I had, but it's something I look back on and wish I had started earlier. Now, I didn't even start that late. I started when I was 27, and that was because I was forced into it. Before, my company always had the option to get into the 401k, but if you didn't personally and physically go in and elect to contribute to the 401k, you were just opted out of it every year. Well, we went through a merger with another company, and when we made that merger, they changed their policy for the 401k. I think a lot of companies were doing this at this time, where they were automatically enrolling their employees into it who didn't already have a 401k established. So that's kind of where it kicked in for me. Now, it was a big surprise because I always overlooked these emails and just passed up on them and didn't contribute or elect to contribute, so I just knew it was gonna, not enroll me. So it was a bit of a rude awakening when the first paycheck hit and I was wondering where all my money went. And so I went in and read the fine print, and it was actually taking away automatically 6% from my paychecks. Now, at the time I was pissed because I was like, that's money that I needed because I had all this debt paid down, and I always thought, wait, I'll invest later, I'm gonna work on my debt now and invest later.
What an idiot!
I know, I'm kicking myself too. I can't believe that I did that, and at that point it was an inconvenience for me, but looking back now, it was a blessing because it got me into it even more. It got me really dedicated to look more into my finances and take control of this. I could have been on a much worse position had this not happened to me, but luckily it did happen, and I was able to make changes to how I was doing things and be in a better position today, even while I was handling all of that. Now, while I was automatically enrolled back in 2016 at the age of 27, just starting at age 27, I wasn't able to go full-blown into retirement saving because I had all this debt. I had credit card debt, I had student loan debt still, and I think I still had a car payment at that time. So these were things that I was still taking care of and paying down at that time. So I wasn't able to give the full contribution that I wish I would have in order to hit the employee match. But I learned to leverage this debt in order to continue to make more money, and we'll kind of get into that in other videos. And it actually isn't until this year, my age 31, that I was able to get to a point where I'm going to be totally debt-free, while I will be able to maximize my retirement savings and be able to really stockpile some serious cash. But before then, I was kind of like teetering the line of how much payment could I get by with into my investment account, as well as continue paying down the minimums of my debt, as well as maybe a little bit extra to get it paid off a little bit faster.
Alright, so I'm gonna have to rob you guys of that beautiful day outside because it got windy and totally wrecked the auto, so the rest of this video will be from the inside. And my number two money mistake that I made is, yes, I was automatically enrolled into the 401k, but I didn't really understand the 401k. I didn't understand their intricacies and all the different ways that you can manipulate it to make your money work for you and invest in things within that account. I think a lot of people make mistakes where they think of a 401k as just a generic bucket account, and they think that they just need to put money into it and they contribute and it does its thing, and then when you get to retirement you pull it out. But that's not really the case. Now, everybody's 401k is different depending on the company you work for and the provider of the 401k that they go with. Some companies, when they choose a provider, the provider picks whatever they make available to the 401k for your company you work for, and sometimes your company even picks some options that they would like available to you. Now, I made the mistake where I didn't look into it as much. I was just throwing money into it. Now, at least I was contributing to it. That's the first part of the battle. Now, it wasn't until 4 years later that I started looking and digging through it a little bit more, seeing where my money was going into, and seeing exactly what kind of returns I was getting at that time. It was 4 years. And I realized that I had a ton of different options to invest into. Now, like I said, everybody's 401k is a little bit different. I have about 30 different options within my 401k that's available to me. I think my sister only has like 6 or 8 or something like that. So it just all depends on that. But again, I may have 30 options, but more than half of those aren't even worth investing into, because the majority are a bunch of like different target date funds that are all broken up by 5 years apart. And when I was automatically enrolled, I was thrown into one of those target date funds. Now, I was only getting 8% on it, and I realized with some of the other options that were available to me, some of them were getting a 12% return. So that was a big opportunity that I missed out on 4 years. That's a whole 4% there that I was missing out on with these funds that I wasn't automatically contributing to, which is a big problem. That 4% is a big difference, especially when you have it so early in your late 20s like I was, and you take that and you compound interest over that 4 extra% on top of what you're already contributing, and it adds up in the end. It's all the little small things. I'll be talking in another video at a later date, kind of going through that account, showing you what I have available to me, what I'm investing in, what happened when I made that flip, and the difference of returns that I was getting into, and how it affects your portfolio as a whole, just from your 401k standpoint. But that's a topic for another video that I'll be making at a later date, so we won't get into that right now. So we'll just move on to my number 3 money mistake, which was purchasing a car. This is a horrible. I did everything you could possibly think wrong with this one. I got into it early because I moved from Florida to Texas, and the way that they handle the cars are a little bit different. You have to pass a yearly inspection. Well, the car that I had at the time didn't pass inspection out here, so my solution to that was, instead of fixing it, I ended up buying a new car. Now, I think the only thing I really needed was to get a new battery temperature sensor, and also get the correct catalytic converter on my car, and it probably would have passed inspection no problem. And again, that would have only probably cost me a couple $1,000s in order to get it done, instead of purchasing a whole new car. But I figured, I was starting my new career off, everything like that. I needed to get a new car, and I didn't go crazy like some people out there. They get out of college and then they immediately go and buy Mercedes or BMW or Infiniti or you name it. And I didn't go that route. I just got a simple Honda. I got a Honda Accord. Not only did I buy it, I leased it, which is just even more terrible of a choice for me to go. And I wasn't spending a whole lot of money. I was paying less than $200 a month, but I did that for 3 years, when I could have probably bought either a used car for much cheaper, $5,000, $10,000, just to get by, to pass the state inspection, to be able to just drive the car around, or again, go back and pay that a couple $1,000s to get the car that I was driving fixed in order to be able to pass inspection. So this was just throwing money away at this point to get into this car. And then when it came time for me to get out of that lease, the lease was up. It didn't make a whole lot of sense for me to turn the car in, because I had so much equity into the car and I didn't have very many miles on it. I don't think I had over 20,000 miles, between 16 and 20,000 miles on the car after 3 years. So it didn't make a whole lot of sense for me to turn that in and start all over again. So I just bought the car outright. And did some financing with a credit union. I think I got about 2.09% on the car, which is great. And I was paying close to $400 on it. I ended up just throwing $400 per month at it, even though it wasn't how much I owed. I really owed like $383 on it, I believe. So I ended up doing that. But then the car got down to a certain point where I was just being aggressive with my pay downs on my debt, and I just threw a huge chunk of cash at around $3,200, $3,300, I believe, down on the car in October 2017 to get it paid off completely. Now, it's just I should have handled that totally different. I should have got a used car. Should have got my old car fixed, and this is like 6 years that we're talking about, that I was just throwing cash away that I should have been investing, but I wasn't. That's $400. When I went to the credit union, that's $400 per month I could have been throwing away, and that's a huge difference. that I could have built up to. I'll actually put some charts kind of over my face, kind of to show you the difference of kind of where my current projection is from, as my plan is, how much I have currently saved and kind of where I'll be at retirement. I think my end goal is on these charts is probably 60 years, at age of 60, retiring early, this is how much I would have. So one is that projection, my current projection is and the other is if I had started 3-4 years earlier, of not having these car payments, I could have been throwing down an interest, and it makes up a big difference, guys, and you'll see that in the charts. I think I'm on a current projection of around $2.3 million on my current path, just on the 401k, doing what it is that I'm doing. I'm going to be adding additions to make even more on this, but this is just, if nothing were to change and I do everything as I am right now, this is kind of how much I'll make. And then the second chart is just really showing you how much I'm missing out on. So that's like $3 million, somewhere around there, if I started 3 or 4 years earlier. And that's $800, or $700,000 difference, and that's a huge amount. That's so much money, guys, and it just changes your lifestyle completely. So that's definitely a big regret that I have when it comes to that. My number 4 mistake is I wasn't tracking my spending. I just didn't think I needed to. It just comes down as simple as that. It sounds so ridiculous to say, but I didn't think I was living extravagantly. I was just spending. I had a career, and I figured I was just living a normal life and just spending what I had. So I didn't track what was coming in, what was going out. I had a credit card. I was doing the whole trying to pay off at the end of the month, but not really monitoring to see if I was paying off at the end of the month, just getting points. And it just added up a whole lot of debt. I didn't get a credit card until probably the age of 22, after college. So I didn't have a whole lot of years to really screw up. I wasn't already adding to it from the age of 18. I started a little bit later, but I wasn't tracking anything, guys. And this thing grew like wildfire on me. It was very quick. Between the age of 22 when I got the card to the age of 27 when I realized I had a problem on my hands, I grew to $14,000 on me. Like it was nothing. I feel like I've been paying it off ever since, just paying down, but it was just only took me 5 years to get in big trouble because I wasn't tracking my expenditure. How can you expect to get anywhere and make any kind of wealth and build any kind of financial future if you don't know where your money is going? Track your spending, guys. Please don't put yourself in the same position that I did. The sooner you start tracking, the better off you'll be. It's the stupidest thing to say, and it sounds like so obvious, but I would tell you that enough people aren't doing it, clearly, because the numbers are just very concerning as far as how much money that we have saved. We are all living paycheck to paycheck, or a large percentage of us are living paycheck to paycheck, when that really shouldn't be the case. Number 5 mistake is I should have used leverage a little bit more. Now, this is one thing you'll probably get on my channel and not so much of other channels when they talk about personal finance or investing. I talk a lot about opportunity costs and leverage, whereas other people will talk about just debt, and they talk about the mental control that money will have on your mind when you're not handling it properly, and I understand where they come from. They want you to get out of the debt because it is a mental toll on your head and your mind trying to get out from underneath it. But I look at the opportunity cost and how much it's going to cost you if you do not do certain things. And I look at everything from an analytical aspect, so that's how I personally get it. Not saying it works for everybody, but this is kind of how it works for me. So what I'm talking about with this money mistake is I was not leveraging my student loans or my car payment as I should have to optimize my savings. Now for my car payment, it would have been, instead of taking that lump sum that I threw down in October 2017 and paying off the car completely, I should have left that $3,000 invested and just kept allowing that to grow and continue making my car payments, because like I said, I only had a 2.09% with that credit union. So that's nothing compared to the 8% which I was making and wasn't happy with the target date fund, and then moved to 12%. I'm paying 2.09% in interest versus getting 12% in the market. why would I throw any money down at this car? Just write it out. Yeah, I realize I made a bad decision, and just write it out, because it's too late at this point. Leave my money invested and continue to let it grow for me. So that's one part that I mean with the leveraging. And the second part of the leveraging is I should have handled my student loans by rolling it down when I was consolidating and bringing all those credit cards into one credit card and rolling it for the 3% or 4% or whatever was being offered to me. I should have been rolling the student loans in there too, because I was paying 6% on those student loans. So I should have been getting the 3% and 4% for the student loans, or roll as much as I possibly could of those to save myself a little bit of interest. But I didn't do that, and there could be some people out there who say, well, I mean, it's not a whole lot of money, Brett. You wouldn't have saved a whole lot of money. It's the little things, guys. It's starting the investing earlier. It's the getting more percent on those over those 4 years that I wasn't getting. It was the not consolidating the debt as I should have been. It's the not getting, it's all of these little things. They add up. If you add this one and add this one and add this one and if you add them all together, it ends up adding to a whole lot. You're just like death by paper cuts with bad financial decisions that could have added up over time. Just that one of getting into a new car instead of a used car, fixing the old car, just those 3 to 4 years that I had. You saw when I showed you those graphs. I mean, that's $700,000, $800,000 just for one decision. Imagine had I made it better decisions for other 4. I mean, we're talking several million more instead of just 700,000. So I'm getting better with handling how I'm leveraging it. Like even with these credit card, all this debt that I've been paying down the student loan, I've gotten better with the way that I've handled it. So I have been able to continuously throw down 10% into the 401k and get that instead of focusing all my money towards my debts, because I'm not only am I putting 10% in, I'm getting the immediate 50% match from the company. So I'm getting 5% there without even having for the market to do anything. So if I'm not putting that 10% in and putting it towards the debt, that's free money that I'm just giving away. And so like I've learned to handle everything better. But these are decisions I should have made several years ago to put myself in a better situation. In my number 6 and final mistake that I made in my 20s that I wish I would have done differently is not only consolidate that student loan debt that I had, but also handle my payments differently. Like whatever I wasn't able to consolidate down into the credit cards, because once you consolidate it doesn't really matter how you make your payments, because you're paying your interest up front. That's your fee that you're paying. You're paying the 3%, 4%, whatever was remaining with the 6% that I have left to pay. I should have been structuring it in a way where I was paying every other week instead of once a month. So for the longest time, I was taking $400 and applying this to the loans every single month, and it was just kind of like clockwork. I just had to come out each month, but in between those $400 payments, I was allowing the interest to come up. So I should have been bombarding that interest, and instead of once a month, I should have been paying every other week. So and you're just kind of peppering the principal at that point. You're not allowing the interest to grow as much. So instead of 12 payments in the year, you would have had you have 52 weeks in the year, and you pay every other week. So you have 26 weeks that you're sending out a payment. Now you're not doing 26 payments of 400. You're doing half of it. You're doing 26 payments of 200. So when you break it down to you divide the 26 down to get how many full payments you have, you divide the 26 by half because you're making half payments. That gets you to 13 payments that you have, full payments. So you get an extra payment of 400 each year by doing this method. Not only are you continuing to pepper the principal down and not allow the interest to grow, you're also adding an additional payment each year. If I had done this strategy, I would have been able to save myself an extra probably a little over a year, and I would have been able to say I'm student loan free as of today. But I can't. I still have to wait until next month for that to happen, because I didn't think strategically how to handle this debt. And this strategy can apply to a lot of things. You can apply it to your car payment. It also depends on who your lender is, though, because some people will not allow you to do this. You can handle some house payments like this. I know my parents' house payment isn't like this, where they're not able to apply bi-weekly because they're going to only apply the whole payment when it gets into the account. So they're technically not able to do it, but some people will allow you to get away with doing these bi-weekly payments. So maybe look into your agreement, test it, maybe not call somebody, but try it out and do a payment and see if you do see the principal go down, or maybe it's going to wait for you to put the full payment in. So I mean, just kind of do some testing with it and changing. I've changed the way that I've been paying the student loan debt for the past 2 years now. Now I should have been doing it over the lifetime of it, but hey, better late than never. So I did it for the past 2 years, and I have seen a change. I have been able to knock off some time, but not as much as if I had started from the beginning. So anyway, that's 6 things that I wish I would have done differently. Imagine if I had done those 6 things and did them all together, and I hadn't had these issues, how much wealth I'd be able to be sitting on right now. I can't even fathom. It just kind of blows my mind what a different position I would be in today had I handled all of this differently. I hope some of this information in this video was, of some use to you all, and you're able to learn something, or maybe you weren't thinking about things the same way that I kind of broke down in this video. Maybe you're going to be able to change the way that you handle some things right now, or at least going forward, you can change the way and benefit from it. These are mistakes I made in my 20s, but this can be of any age. Obviously, it's going to benefit you more if you handle in your 20s. You're going to be able to in a much better financial position later in life, but these mistakes aren't reserved to your 20s only. I mean, we see it all the time. People are constantly making these mistakes at any ages. Now, these are just ones that I made in my 20s, and I'll be better off that I've caught them early, and I'm going to be able to apply them, make changes and critiques and do things differently for my future to build up wealth. But, hopefully you all were able to learn from some of this as well. If you did learn something, I appreciate it if you hit that like button. If maybe you know somebody who could benefit from this, maybe somebody in their early 20s or so, or in their 20s or even early 30s, maybe you can share this video with them to help them out. And if you're not already, hit that subscribe button. Follow along my journey, figure out how I'm handling my finances and continuing to build wealth. And also, please be safe out there. I know we have this crazy times going on. Your health is the most important aspect of your life right now, so make sure you guys are taking care of yourselves and one another. Until next time, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.